Some of you may remember the car. Some of you may not recognise it because it's gone under a huge amount of change over the last 12 months. But this is the one and same white 275 GTB shortnose that had received a number of modifications during its life to upgrade it and change it from its factory specification. But here we are. After 12 months of hard graft, the car has been returned to absolutely its factory specification. So we have removed the vents from the rear wheel arches, we've removed the spotlights, we've removed the power bulge from the front and from the bonnet, and we've put it back to exactly as it would have been the day it left the factory. We used a very original car to take templates from and to cross-check against, as so many short noses we see that have had a long nose put on them at some point, are returned to short nose specification and quite often don't look quite right. We are absolutely confident that this car will look absolutely 100% correct when it's finished, because we've used one of the best and most original short nose 275s out there as a comparison. Secondly, the original colour, Blu Scuro Metallizzato, an incredibly rare colour as it turns out, very difficult to find existing cars painted in this colour scheme, and very difficult to formulate. But with a lot of help from Ferrari Classiche, from our other contacts in the industry, we've been able to narrow it down and formulate the right colour, and we're absolutely confident this is correct. So Blu Scuro, which is a flat dark blue, is really easy to pull together. That's a formula that's regularly used and cars are painted in regularly. But in order to give it the metallic tint, it gave us a very difficult situation, because naturally you're adding silver and it lightens the colour up very quickly. So with all the metallic that you have to add black as well. So it took hundreds, literally hundreds of different samples to get it absolutely right, because we were able to find one original swatch to compare to get it correct. We just didn't have the formula, but now it's done, and I'm sure you'll agree it's got this great presence of a very deep dark blue, as Blu Scuro should be, but when it gets in the bright sunlight, it's got this very subtle metallic colour, and coupled with its grey interior, which it's going to have, it's going to look super modern, super fresh, but again, it will be absolutely as it was when it left the factory. Now, whilst the car's been away, the guys have been meticulously working on all the parts and the individual components, the brakes, the suspension, the engine's been totally rebuilt, the gearbox has been rebuilt, all the individual components have been stripped and rebuilt. So now it's simply a reassembly process for us before we get the car ready for trim and it goes off to trim. Now at this stage, I just thought it'd be quite interesting to look at this short nose and to show you some of the key differences that you find between this and the very ultimate 4-cam series, because there were changes. So the obvious one is, of course, this short nose. This was changed to a long nose later on. I don't think I need to explain too much with regards to that. But the short nose also has this bonnet here with this wider bulge. When you go to the long nose 2-cam, it's just a flat bonnet. And then for the 4-cam, they have a narrow power bulge, which you see in the centre, which is very distinctive. One of the biggest differences between these very early short noses and the very late 4-cams are the floors and bulkhead. On later cars, and for 330s and 365s thereafter, they have fiberglass floors and fiberglass bulkheads. But on these cars, they're steel, which at restoration presents an added complication, because they're not only steel, but they're sandwich panel with insulation between, which means if any moisture's got in there, in the middle, then you've got corrosion from the inside out. So that presents us with the problem that almost always on a short nose, we need to remove the floors completely and replace them with new panels because they're corroded from the inside out. The bulkhead's always in good condition, but that's one major thing, which to me, it sort of says that actually this car has probably got a bit more rigidity and stiffness to a later car, but for ease of manufacture, you can see that Ferrari were getting cleverer and wiser, and a fiberglass system was a lot easier to install at that time. Just whilst we're in the interior here, you can see that we've reinstalled the completely overhauled and restored and labelled up wiring loom, ready for it to be connected up to the dash and for everything at the terminating ends to be reconnected to the various components around the car that you may see. And in the centre here, we've got this wonderful open gear lever. Now, the 275 has a transaxle, so the gearbox and axle is one unit at the back. 5-speed, of course, which sets this car apart from the earlier 250 series. And so you just have this lovely cast remote tower here with the open gear shift gate with your reverse gear and 5 forward gears, and then this linkage through the back to the transaxle to change gear. Okay, moving to the back, the final major difference on a short nose, or the final two differences rather, the rear screen, much smaller, a much more beautiful design in my opinion. The later cars, the screen goes all the way to the top of the roof rail above the doors. It's a much bigger screen for better visibility, but I love this smaller window. It gives it more of a pure design, and often people look at a short nose 275 and do say, well, it's the pure original design, it's the way they were supposed to be. Of course, it was upgraded so that you could have more visibility out of the rear view mirror through the rear window if the screen was bigger. Of course, the nose was upgraded for high-speed stability, but I prefer these earlier cars personally. And then the final thing, which is very much reminiscent of the earlier competition cars, is this wonderful aluminium riveted fuel tank that sits in the center here. Now this is only on the short noses. Soon after this they went to two, again, fiberglass saddle tanks that sat either side of this area, and the spare wheel went under the floor here. So yes, the later design was better for space, but isn't this pretty? This polished aluminium riveted fuel tank. I love it. So there we are. That's the up-to-date summary of where we are with this very special 275. Being returned to absolutely the specification that it left the factory in. So we hope you've enjoyed the process so far. Please do keep watching. Please make sure you follow our YouTube channel and look out for more videos of the same nature.